Hello and welcome to the first video of this month of me making videos. And I'm going to just throw it out there right in the start. This is not the video that I intended on making for day one. To be fair, going into this, I didn't really have anything until like today. I didn't think of it. And it ended up becoming this big project where I needed a lot of editing. I wrote a script, I recorded it, and I've just been kind of relearning how to edit, and that's becoming such a big project that video itself is going on hold, at least for today, and I might try to put it out tomorrow, maybe the next day, but it's going to take at least another day to get out, and so in that time, we're doing this video, kind of just an idea I had, because we're already late on the first video of this project, so we're going to just dive right in. All this is, you saw it in the title, we're going over my manga collection. And I have a decent sized manga collection. It's nothing crazy, nothing huge, but it's just something I can talk about, and that's the only reason I'm making this video. And I'm going to say it right out the front too. I haven't read most of this manga. I'm not going to be talking in detail about most of this manga. I am just going over what I own in print form. And this isn't all the manga I've read. To be fair, I haven't read a ton of manga, but it's all the manga I own. So we're just going to go through it, and you can yell at me to read or not to read any of these that you wish. But we're just going to get started, and you're not gonna be able to see this right now, but we're gonna get started on my shelf. I have one shelf over here that stores a lot of the manga, and then all this stuff up here, this is all stuff that I usually keep on another shelf over there, but I moved it all over here just so you could see what I've got, because this is my DVD shelf right here. So, first one is actually something I have read, have completed all of, it's not that long, and it's called Love in Hell. This is the cover. There's 3 volumes of the original, and there's 2 volumes of the spin-off called Love in Hell Death Life. I only have the first one. And I actually really, really like this. I don't see a lot of people ever talking about it. And it's just something that it's a little gem that I found that I think a lot of people would be turned off of because of its content and the nature of its content. You can see it's pretty lewd on the cover, and well, I can't show you any actual nudity, but there is definitely some nudity in here. And funny enough, these actually don't come sealed in like bookstores when you find them. But what it's about is just in hell, when someone gets sent to hell, instead of being torn apart in blazes over and over again, you actually have a chance to repent for your sins. And so you get assigned to a demon, and that demon is assigned to a sinner. And basically the demon, this girl right here is one of the demon. Most of them, not most of them actually, many of them are really cute or hot girls that wear leather and not a lot of it. And they get assigned to a sinner to torture them. And basically, torture is how these sinners get currency to survive in this kind of society that is hell. They use it to buy food and clothing. They can get jobs, but the main way that they repent for their sins and can eventually get reincarnated or go to heaven is to be tortured. And so there's really gruesome torture scenes in here. I'm not going to show any of it, but they have all the most gruesome ways. They're bludgeoning you, they're peeling your skin off, they're burning you, and depending on the type of torture, you can get more money and whatnot. And there's a whole system in society built into this. That's something I like about this series a lot, is that they have a fleshed out system for the way everything works. It's not super complicated, but there's no bullshit. There's no questions that you really need to ask. Everything's kind of simple and laid out for you, and I appreciate that. And on top of that, there's good fan service in it. There's good comedy. It is a comedy. You might call it a romance. It's not really that romantic. There's kind of a little bit of hinted romance, but it's more pervy in nature than anything between the main girl, who's kind of a new apprentice, demon, or just got out of demon school, and a new sinner, who's kind of this douchey, nerdy, fuck up guy that killed himself. I think he killed himself. Yeah. And then the spin-off is just about another new girl, and then the girl from the first one ends up being like her senpai. Just two cute lollies that are demons and torture guys. So that's really it. It's short. There's 5 volumes total in the whole thing. It's a really quick read. I have all of them. I got them on sale. Honestly, most of these I got on sale at some point. I think most of them I got for pretty cheap, like $4 or $5 a volume at different bookstores that had manga sales, and at conventions where you can get really cheap manga sometimes. So that is Love and Hell. Next up, Mysterious Girlfriend X. I have the first 3 volumes of it, and I've read all of them. But I actually ended up dropping this manga because I watched Digibro's Manga Mondays about it, where he was really into this, and I was also really into it. But what he said is basically a lot of people talk about how this goes on, and it just doesn't go anywhere, even though you think it's going to. And so it has a really interesting romance, kind of weird romance between this boy and this girl. I'll let you go and watch the Manga Mondays, because Digibro goes into a lot more detail about the narrative and what actually goes on. But basically they're dating. She's kind of this weird girl that carries scissors in her panties and is like mysterious, and they like their relationship is kind of built around him tasting her saliva. It's kind of, and it's like they have a daily ritual to do that. It's kind of weird, but I don't know, the characters are really nice. It's kind of comedic, and you see their relationship develop very slowly, but apparently what happens is that it doesn't end up going anywhere seriously, even though you really think it should, and that's just not very gratifying. But I bought the first 3 when I was still really into it, and maybe eventually I will get into more, because I also really like these manga volumes. They have nice matte covers, and I will say I have a huge fetish for matte covers for books, particularly manga. When it's not a glossy finish, like Love and Hell is a glossy finish. I don't know if you can tell. You can tell in the light. You see the gloss on this one compared to the matte. I love the matte finish. It feels better in my hand. I think it looks better. I think it brings out the art a lot better most of the time. With the glossy, it just kind of seems like cheaper and mass-produced, and these seem a little more loved in their design. These are really good volumes, really great cover art, really good spines. They look really good when you line them up next to each other. They're thick. They're kind of double wide for one volume. And they're good volumes. So if you do like this manga, I would recommend picking up the physical copies, because they are really nice. They look really good on the shelf, and they're really nice to read. But that is Mysterious Girlfriend X. Yet to watch the show for that, but I might check it out. Next one we got is something I haven't read yet, but really have been planning on it. And that's the first 2 volumes of Akira. I bought on eBay like 2 years ago. Most of this manga is from like 1 or 2 years ago, and I haven't bought a lot of manga since, just because I don't ever read it. But we have the first 2 volumes of Akira. I love the movie a lot. I did an episode of the Old Anime Project about the movie, and I have the first 2 volumes of the manga. Plan on reading them. Plan on reading the whole thing. Just haven't gotten to it yet, but these are huge. If you've ever seen a physical copy, these are really big. Let's take like another copy of another manga, a normal size manga compared. They're huge, and they just have. And I flipped through these. They have gorgeous art all throughout, and I'm really excited to actually get to reading these. I just haven't done so. Yeah, I'm gonna have to set these aside because they're hard to get back in. Next one up is a complete story in one book called The God's Lie, and it's just a quick story in one book about these kind of 2 young kids who develop this relationship. I'm trying to remember the real plot, and I'm pretty sure the girl comes from a pretty broken home, and this kid kind of falls in love with this other girl, and they're trying to get her out of their home. And it's a really touching, loving story. It's not great. It's pretty short and doesn't really have enough time to really grip you and get you to care about the characters in a deep way. But it's a nice, quick little read. I wouldn't really recommend buying it. It says it's $13 US on the back for a really thin book. It's a quick read. If you can get it online, I'd recommend it. It does have a matte cover though, which made it I think incentivized me buying it when I did. So that's The God's Lie. It was an alright read. Next one, another manga I haven't read. No, a lot of this stuff I have read. But I Am a Hero. Definitely been meaning to get to this. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I'm pretty into zombies, and so one of the quintessential zombie mangas of the modern day. That's supposedly really gritty. I've flipped through it a lot of times, and it's seen just great art, great violence, and gritty shit. So I'm pretty excited to check this out eventually. But that's I Am a Hero. I'm excited to check that out. Next, I just got 2 Viz manga samplers that I've gotten every time I went to Otakon. The 2 times I went, they're manga samplers. They've got, what do we have? Behind the Scenes, Black Clover, Haikyuu, Kuroko no Basket, Monster Hunter, Flash Hunter, Shuriken and Pleats, and Yona of the Dawn. This is for 2016, and then this was 2015. They have the Demon Prince of Momochi House, So Cute It Hurts, Tokyo Ghoul, Twin Star Exorcist on Myoji, Ultraman, Maid-sama, and My Hero Academia. So, wow, this is My Hero Academia just starting out. That's pretty interesting, given how big it's gotten. This next bunch is a bunch of shit I haven't read yet. So we're just going to bust through these because I haven't read them. All of these I got discount for like $4 a volume at my local Books A Million when they were having a sale, and I kind of just wanted to build up a manga collection, so I grabbed anything that looked remotely interesting. Haven't read any of these yet. Don't know where they go. First one, first volume of the No Game No Life manga. Haven't read it, haven't watched the show, haven't read the light novels, have no idea what to expect. I think I'm going to like it, but I think I'm going to want to watch the show. I don't even know if I'm going to ever get to reading this, but I have it. Next, Kisses, Size, and Cherry Blossom Pink, a Yuri manga, Yuri romance that I'm interested in checking out. Just never got around to it. Kanokon Volume 1 through 2. It's an omnibus volume. Kanokon, I've heard mixed things about the show. Apparently, it's just a pretty good fan service manga, so maybe I'll end up liking it. Maybe I'll end up hating it. We will see. Another Yuri. This looks like a Yuri romance, kind of comedy, a little more ecchi-oriented, comedy-oriented. Gakuen Polizi. I also got on discount, and I don't know anything about it. Don't know what to expect. I've got Gakuen Polizi. Another one, this is maybe the most embarrassing one I own. It is called I Don't Like You at All, Big Brother, and it's got that on the cover. I'm pretty sure it is just an ecchi little sister fan service comedy a la Oremo. I don't know. Another one, yeah, bargain priced, $4.97. So I have it. Next ones, also haven't read these. Also have heard bad things about them. And that's Defrag. I got the first 4 volumes of Defrag, bought them for $4 a pop. Never read it, never watched the show, but I've heard not the best things about it. But hey, who knows? I liked the art on the covers of these a lot, and at the time I bought these at a friend who was really into it, so I bought 4 for him and 4 for me, and I have it now, and maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I'll end up liking it. Who knows? You never know, because I don't read any fucking manga ever. Busting through these. Next ones. Other shit I haven't read. Girls Into Panzer, Volumes 1 and 2. The movie that came out that was nominated for Crunchyroll Awards. This was a big deal. People like the series. Never read the manga, though. I'll get to it eventually. Next one. Something I've read 1 volume of, but that doesn't really mean anything when it covered just the episodes of the show that I've also seen. And that's Pandora and the Crimson Shell. I have this show on hold. I just never got to finishing it the season that it came out. This is, what the fuck, who wrote it? Oh, Shiro Masamune, who, oh god, I'm gonna butcher this, is the guy that wrote, oh fuck, is that Ghost in the Shell? Yeah, yes, creator of Ghost in the Shell, and the guy, also the creator of Excel Saga, Rikudo Koshi, is the artist. But, yeah, this is the same guy that wrote Ghost in the Shell, and I'm a big fan of Ghost in the Shell, so I have the first 3 volumes of these. I also pretty sure I got these at Anime Next at the $4 manga booth, which is my favorite stand there because it lets me just spend way too much money on manga that I'm never going to read. And I've read 1 volume of this, but it just covered the episodes of the show that I've seen. And I'll get around to finishing it eventually. I have 3 volumes. I like it, so we'll get there. Next thing, should I have read but also have dropped because we're still getting there? My Little Monster volumes 1 through 3. This one is kind of busted up there a little bit. But the show was one of the earliest anime I watched when I started getting into anime seriously. Probably only 10 or so shows in when I watched it. And when I started to get into manga in any, or started to buy manga even, I picked this up because I was still a fan of the show pretty well. When I ended up getting around to reading it within the last year or so, I was just more underwhelmed by it, and I picked it up originally because I heard that the story continues in a really interesting way from the original show, but then just rereading the original plotline of the show, I kind of just got bored with it. It was cute, and I'm not going to change my score for the show or anything because of it. I just didn't feel like reading it all again, and I didn't really care about the characters enough anymore to want to continue and see what happens. So I ended up dropping it, but I'm still holding on to the manga for now. Next one, though, is what might be my favorite manga of all time, even though I have only read the four volumes that I own of it, and that is Yotsuba, which, if you have not read, you should definitely read, because this manga is one of the things that brings me joy in this world more than anything else. I first read Yotsuba. It might actually be the first manga I ever read. I first read Yotsuba when I was in elementary school. I might have been in 5th grade at the time, I want to say 4th or 5th grade. And I bought volume 1, which looked like this. I'm pretty sure I had the exact same copy of it. I don't know if this is the one. This is not the one that I owned when I was growing up. I don't know what happened to that. I got it at the book fair at my school because we had a book fair once or twice a year. And I got 1 volume of it, and I really liked it, and I reread it constantly. I was a big reader when I was in elementary school because I didn't have a phone or an iPod or a computer or anything to use while I was in bed, so I would just read books and stay up late doing that. I've always been a night owl that stayed up late. But I would read this over and over and over again because I really just loved it. It was really fun. It's funny, actually. I think that happens a lot. It at least happened for me. One of my favorite movies as a kid was Spirited Away, and one of my favorite books was Yotsuba Volume 1. And none of my family understood why, and I guess that was just a sign that I was destined to become a big anime fan later in life, because I ended up really getting into these as a kid, even though these are the only things I'd seen. And sure, I watched like Pokemon and Naruto growing up, but who didn't? But I think this was like the first like non-mainstream, I guess otaku type content or just anime and manga content that I got that wasn't like super mainstream in the West. So, but I've since gotten, I rebought the first one and up through the 4th. I think I got them at a used bookstore, and I've read them all. I've reread them once or twice since that. They're just, Yotsuba is just the bliss of childhood perfectly represented. Everything that is good about youth and childhood and the freedoms and ignorance, blissful ignorance that comes with it, is expressed in Yotsuba in such a fun way that can't help but make me smile every time I read it. And so I always love picking this back up, and I do really want to finish it. I know it's not technically done being written, even though it's been on hiatus for like years now. But I do plan on finishing it eventually. I do plan on picking everything up for the series eventually. But this is if not my favorite, it's one of my favorite manga of all time. One thing I'd like to say about publishing is that there's 2 different English publications. And if you look at the spines, you can notice the differences. These 2 right here are matte finished, which is better, like I said, and have a different spine than these 2, which are gloss finish. and I prefer these versions. So I eventually maybe I'll want to get the full matte set, but I am not worried too much about it. I just like having them in physical copy. I do plan on getting more. Next, we've got. I can bring these all out at once. These are technically not manga, but they're light novels, but I'll talk about them because they're kind of included. That's Bakemonogatari Volumes 1 and 2 and Kizumonogatari, the light novel. So, I've only read Volume 1 of Bakemonogatari and started Volume 2 and didn't get very far in it. And I never read Kizu yet. And I do really like them. They are good to read, mainly because I'm a big fan of the original Bakemonogatari series, and even though I haven't seen the rest of the Monogatari series itself, I've only seen Bake. I really like reading these again because it reminds me of the show a lot. It's retelling the stories, the dialogue's very similar, and props to the whoever subbed the version that I saw, because they did a pretty good job at least capturing the spirit of the English translation here, which I imagine it depends on whether or not I watched a fan sub or an official sub or whatever. But they matched pretty well, and it was really nice to kind of go back and reminisce and remember the stories and the character interactions. But part of what makes the show of Bakemonogatari so great for me and makes it one of my favorite shows is the art direction and the general direction and just the design of everything. And it carries this kind of complex wordplay and language and dense dialogue really well, and makes it a lot more interesting to watch than it does to read. And though I still like these, it kind of makes it more of a drag to read these over again than I would rather just watch the rest of the show. And that's kind of the problem I've had with these. Also, these are vertical comics, I'm pretty sure. And the problem with vertical is that they produce them the same size as another standard manga, or I guess a little bit bigger. But this one costs $14 just because it's got like a fancy matte cover, and they talk about it and present it in a more mature way. And that's fine. Like, these are really nice issues, but $15, $14, and what's this, like $16? Yeah, another $15. So it's just more expensive. They're nicer volumes. The art on the covers is really beautiful, but they're not worth it, and they're publishing them at rapid fucking pace. I was at the bookstore a few days ago, and Jesus Christ, they are making these like crazy. That's it. Next, I'm only going to pull out a couple. I've got 7 volumes of this, but I'm just going to pull out a handful. Of Nana, I've read about 1.5 volumes of it so far. I'm really into it. I got all these at a used bookstore in Philadelphia. I found them, I think I got them for like $4 a piece, which is how much I like to spend on my used manga. It is usually where I kind of gauge that. So these were $4 a pop. They were in great condition. I picked them all up with plans on reading them. And actually, I think I only picked up volumes 2 through 7, and then my brother ended up getting me volume 1 for Christmas. So props to you. So I was then able to start, and I've read like a volume and a half of them, and I plan on finishing it eventually. But it's a long manga, but at least I've got them, which kind of makes it a little bit easier to go check them out. All right, we get to move on to this fancy stuff over here. We're going to start over here. This is all one stack of the same stuff. This is Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer, another manga that I'm actually very fond of. I haven't finished. I've read, I guess they're 2-volume units, they're omnibuses. I think I've read 3 volumes of it so far, maybe all the way to 4. I don't remember exactly, but I've been a big fan of what I've read so far. I have 4 of the, I think, 5 or 6 omnibuses. I think there's a total of like 10 or 12 volumes total, and I have 8 of them in 4 omnibuses, and I'm really happy with it so far. Really good. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, all but one of the rest of this I haven't read, so we can bust through these. And I'm pretty sure most of these I got at, I think all but one of these in both of these stacks I got at Anime Next at the discount manga, where I spent like $90 or some shit to do this. First, we've got something I've never heard of ever. Canon God Exacxion Stage 1. From the creator of Gunsmith Caps, though, which made it stick out as someone that's fascinated with kind of 80s style, early 90s style anime. And it's got a weird art style, and it looked weird and interesting, and I'd never heard of it before, so I picked it up because it was $4. Next, we've got 2 of the same volume, but different publications, of Karikano, His and Her Circumstances. Never watched the show, never read the manga, but I have 2 copies of Volume 1 that somehow I guess I accidentally bought a second copy. Maybe I went back and forgot I bought the first one. Haven't read it yet. It looks decent. I've heard great things about the show. So I got the manga. I've got 2 different publications of them, so look out, you know? I think that might have been the mistake I made, actually, is that there are different publications. Who knows? Haven't read them yet. Next, another thing that I never heard of that looked fucking badass is Poison Candy. Is this even Japanese? Oh. This might be a Western manga. I didn't even notice this. So, it's made by Tokyo Pop, published by Tokyo Pop. But it opens like a normal Western book would, and it's made by David Hein and Hans Steinbach. Volume 1. Scar Virus. Huh. Yo, I'm having revelations as we go through this. Holy shit, this video is only almost 30 minutes long. We still got a ways to go. But another thing, never heard of it. It looked kind of cool and weird by the cover art, so I picked it up. Maybe I'll check it out eventually. Next, Alien 9 Volume 2. I think I just bought this with the intention to buy Volume 1, because again, I've heard cool things about it. Had a really nice matte cover with cool art of the characters on it, and I just wanted to pick it up because it was weird and cool. Next, we've got a Clamp manga. Gate 7. Just a random picked it up because the art cover looked cool. When I bought this, I'd only heard of Clamp. I didn't really know who they were on any significant level. So I just grabbed this because I saw Clamp on it. I saw cool art. So I picked it up. Next, something that I've seen 3 episodes of the show of. Ended up dropping the show because I couldn't really get into it. I wasn't into kind of how not raunchy, but how sexual it was without actually being sexual. It was just kind of sexual in nature, but not in performance, I guess. Kind of hard to describe. It's just, they would talk about it a lot, but never would commit to anything. And I just couldn't get into the show very much. But I bought the manga since watching those episodes of the show, just assuming that it's the complete collection. So it's the whole story right in one book, and it can probably take me maybe an hour to just read the whole thing, which would be a lot faster than the 10 hours that it would take to watch the whole show. So if I read this and end up liking it, I might return to the show. But for now, I just have this, and I'll get to that eventually. Next, Mega Tokyo. Holy crap, this is a lot heavier than I expected, and it's because they've got kind of fancier pages right here. And wow, it's really interesting art. This is... Did I just fuck up? Wait. Is this another English? This might be another English manga or Western manga. What the fuck is this? I've heard of this too. See, I forgot that I owned this. It's actually got like sketch art. It's not like finished art, it looks like, which kind of looks actually dope. What is this? Hero, an obsessed anime manga fan, and Largo, a hardcore American gamer, and blah, 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 fly to Japan and on a whim and find themselves stranded, unable to afford the trip home. Through their struggles to find places to crash and money for tickets home, we experience Tokyo from the unique and drastically different points of view. It collects the first 3 prints of volume from the highly popular Mega Tokyo webcomic into one high-density block of comic goodness. Huh. I think this is a Western. It's made by Dark Horse. I think it's a Western anime. It's really heavy. Wow. Definitely looks cool. I actually want to check that out even more, especially if it's like this perspective kind of story. Next, we've got Chronicles of the Cursed Sword, which I just forgot that I owned at all. First 3 volumes of the hit series with an action pack. I did some action series, I guess. I picked it up and it had some cool samurai action. So I've got it. Yeah, I have it. We're going to read it eventually. I got all these omnibuses as well because they were just $4 like the rest of them, so I figured I'm getting so much manga. So I grabbed a bunch of random omnibuses when I was at the stand because they were just $4 each for myself. Next, we've got some more light novels. I've got first two Do-Da-Da-Da light novels. I'm a huge fan of the show. I have a wall scroll for the show. I'm also a big fan of Bakano by the same author, which, now that I'm here, I forgot about it. I also have Volume 1 of the Bakano light novel, which I've read a little bit of, but never got very far into, so I'd have to start over. I wanted to read it again. And I'm actually interested, now that they're really publishing these, to go back and to read all the Bakano light novels. And eventually I'd probably get to the Do-Da-Da-Da ones, because I'm a big fan of the show. But I also have to watch the sequels for Do-Da-Da-Da as well. So I have a lot to get to from Ryogo, but it's all good. It's all good. We'll get to these eventually. And the last one I have Log Horizon Volume 1. I also got it cheaper at the stand. Haven't watched the show yet, but I'm a big fan of the cover art. I have friends that are really into it. Hear a lot of good things about it. I'll get to it eventually. This is the last one that I actually have read. This is the All You Need Is Kill manga, and it's based on the original novel. And there's also Edge of Tomorrow, the Tom Cruise action movie that's based off the same novel. And I've heard a lot of people say that this is the worst iteration of that story between the manga, the original novel, the manga, and the movie. I think a lot of people really like Edge of Tomorrow. A lot of people really like the original novel. And I like this. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was pretty all right. I'd probably give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. And it was pretty cool concept where they keep playing the day over and over again, and this guy is trying to save this other woman soldier, and it's a nice publication too. Pretty cheap, I'd say, for the size of it. It's $15, and you get this real big, hefty book with a nice matte finish with a little bit of gloss on the words, which is actually something when I excuse glosses when it's like that. But it is peeling a little bit, and I think it's that kind of cheaper matte finish. But it's got great art. It was a pretty decent story, so yeah, I would recommend checking out. I don't know if I would recommend buying it, but I bought it, and I think I got a gift card when I bought that. I didn't buy that for cheap. Last one. Not last one. I got 2 more after this. Frank and Fran, Volumes 1 and 2. Heard great things about Frank and Fran, and I really want to check it out. This might be one of the first ones I check out when I get to all of this, because I've heard really good things about this. And it's a pretty long series, so it might take me a little while to get through or pick up more copies, but I've heard great things, and I can't wait to get to it. Next one is Gunslinger Girl, which I have seen this first season of the show. Was a huge fan of the I wouldn't say huge fan. I was a big fan. I really liked it. But I've heard even better things about the manga. I've had some friends that have read it. I know Digiro's a big fan